everybody? Welcome to Mondays with Max. Appreciate you guys all for being here. I appreciate it. Got a lot to talk about tonight. Thank you to everybody that submitted questions. Definitely gave me some things to research yesterday. So yeah, thought I found it interesting, and I appreciate everybody that gave me the ideas. So, alrighty, well, let's figure out who is here tonight. So Tim, I Am Crypto was first tonight. Good evening to you. Canadian Miners, Crypto Perks, Paddywhack Miner. We will be talking about that. Actually, somebody, the pirate, actually submitted that question as well. Something similar to it, I should say. Dakota Miner, sorry, a little late on the music, I suppose. And Paddywhack. And thank you, Cook. Yes. So now I can say, welcome to Mondays with Max, the world's greatest Monday night stream, according to Cook 415. Is that what? Yeah, 4015. So I appreciate that. Now I can use that as a claim. Anyway, King Mining, hello. Thank you for being a member. Travelers Travels, Integra Guy, thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Burn, Geek of all trades. Good to see you, sir. Arcs Crypto Mining, Gaming with Smokey Dan, Steven Cicero. Steven Cicero also asked me a question. It's the same one as the pirate. Again, that's a dual question that people have asked. DJ Mines, good to see you, sir. There will be no 22s in my chat. All right, bacon, eggs, and hash. 4J, Dave's FinTech channel. Chump Change, thank you for being here, sir. Wow, you got here on time. Good for you. Sunflower Mama, thank you for being here and helping me out. She'll always helps out with making sure I've got the screen looking right. Overboard Tech, Sadie. Sometimes I'll say what your question is, Sadie, but I really can't answer that question. But I'll bring it up in case anybody else has any comments to it. Jeffkey, good to see you, sir. Thank you for being here. Automatic Beats, here by service. Thank you for being here by service. I haven't seen you before, so appreciate you being here. Let's see, Patrick Murphy. I have a question from you as well that I will be addressing. Let's see, Domji, and I think that's it. So again, thank you all for being here. I won't talk about my week this week. There's just no reason to. That's not what you guys are here for. You're here for crypto, so we're going to talk crypto tonight. So let me get into some of the questions, and then I'm going to go over a couple of coins that were, well, one of them was asked about, and in the process of looking for that one, I found another one that was kind of interesting and some parallels that can be drawn. What it could mean for not necessarily these coins, but for other coins, so that are similar to them. Anyway, we'll go into that. I think you'll understand where I'm going for. But anyway, so let's start with Patrick Murphy's question. He asked me, I should actually pull it up on, because otherwise I'm going to butcher it. Let's see here. So he asked, in your opinion, I'm kind of paraphrasing. Is it more advantageous to get into a node or node centric project early, or wait to see how the implementation goes? Well, I would say, just as in mining, you're usually better off getting in early. So let's say you have the example, obviously you guys know I have flux nodes. So I guess I would use the flux example. That would it have been better to get into flux nodes early on? Of course, you made a lot more. The more nodes that are on the project, the less each node is making. Same thing with miners. That's the benefit of getting in early. So it's just really a parallel with mining. I don't think, I guess the big difference though is whether or not it's a stable node project or not. In other words, is the software that they're providing stable so that you don't have a lot of issues? So I guess that's really the question you need to answer for yourself. Sure, give it a try, open a VM, get it going, and if it ends up being more trouble than it's worth, then forget it. But I am a big proponent of getting in on node projects. And one of the big reasons is just how much I've learned along the way since I started getting into node projects. So yeah, I love how the fact that it's taken me down this path of learning a lot of new things. I would never have learned how to create VMs and Proxmox. Wouldn't have learned that ESXi doesn't work very well on AMD products because they don't have the drivers. Mainly it's made for servers. So I just have learned a lot of new things that I would never have learned. So I've really enjoyed the journey, as frustrating as it has been at times. I've learned learned a lot along the way. And that will eventually lead into another question about routers that I'll get into in a little bit. But yeah, I think if you haven't gotten into node projects and you're kind of on the fence, I would suggest it. I think it's a great idea. I only wish I had been paying more attention to Nioxa and its masternode release. I was aware earlier in the year when they delayed it, but wish I had taken advantage of the situation to get in on a new node project that I'm sure I would have enjoyed and obviously would have been very profitable. So that is a mistake I'm hoping I won't repeat. And again, one of the projects that I'm going to bring up tonight is also another node project. There's a lot of node projects out there. So if you are thinking about doing it, yeah, I think it's great. And I honestly think it makes pretty decent content. It's a little difficult to make the content because it can have a lot of private information in there with wallet addresses and IDs and IP addresses and things like that. So it can be a little bit challenging from the editing perspective, but otherwise, I think it makes for interesting content. So let me see if there was any other part of that question. So yeah, basically, would you have done things differently with Flux and your interaction with the nodes? How can those lessons learned be applied to a current project launching nodes, specifically Nioxa? I don't know enough about the Nioxa project to say like if it's really similar or not. I don't know if it has the same requirements. Can you only have one master node per location, or does it have some type of port forwarding like similar to what Flux has with UPnP? I don't know any of those things. So I haven't done the research on the Nioxa Masternode project to make an educated statement about that. So would I have done things differently with Flux? The only thing I would have done differently, no, I guess I learned things along the way that made me take the steps I did. So I can't say I would have done things differently because I didn't know what I didn't know. Now that I know what I know, yes, I think it's great that I've learned that yes, you need to UPnP can be a little flaky. It doesn't matter what kind of router you have, but it's the ability to get visibility into what's going on with UPnP that helps you to make sure that is it your node that's the problem or is it your router that's the problem? And when I say problem, it's identifying what the problem is. So I will give you an example of something that just happened yesterday. So, well, let me talk about the routers because that was another question here. Somebody did ask me a question about home router versus business grade router, and then I'll even go off to Paddywhack Miner. I think was the one that asked me like why not use a PF Sense router. So I don't think there's anything wrong with a PF Sense router. I think that was definitely one of the avenues I had thought about going. But when I found a $140 business grade router in MikroTik with a lot of great reviews and people saying this thing works great, it's just you better not be a newbie because you're gonna have struggles because there's just a lot to know and a lot to configure and a lot of things to figure out on these. But that's what I love about it is the fact that you can dive deep and there isn't like just this surface level and not knowing. It's kind of like honestly, and I'm not trying to start a religious war here or anything, but it's really the difference between Apple and IBM or Apple and Windows. Apple, you have the surface. Something goes wrong, it kind of tells you what goes wrong, but you really don't have any ability to dive down and really figure out what's going wrong. With Windows, you have the ability to look at the event log, figure out everything that's happening on your computer, way more than you probably want to know. But you have the ability to really look at it and figure out, oh, this is what's going on. Let me look, do a Google search on this. What's happening here? And maybe you need to make a registry change or whatever. There's ways that you can figure out what's wrong with it. Well, that's the difference between a consumer grade router and a business grade router in the MikroTik that I have. Is the fact that a consumer grade, yeah, you can set everything. It's pretty. It is really easy to use. But when things go wrong, you don't know if it's the router or not. There's no diagnostic ability to look at what's going on in the guts of a consumer grade router. With MikroTik, I have the ability to look at my ARP table, my DHCP server table, as well as the NAT firewall, which shows me all of the ports that have been opened, via UPnP. So let's take, for example, yesterday. So one of my Raspberry Pi, that's one thing I would say is take that all with a grain of salt. If you're thinking about going Raspberry Pi for a node, don't. That's the one thing. It's the one lesson I've learned. I still have them. Eventually, I don't know what I'm going to do with them, but yeah, they will not be nodes eventually. But anyway, I digress on that. But anyway, so I had to reload one of them. I had looked at some of the symptoms of what was happening with my node, and I went back and actually did a search on the community support page within Discord. If you have a problem with your nodes or you're looking to learn more about nodes, that's a great resource. Do a search, see if you can figure out what's going on before you ask the question. So I did that. Somebody else had the exact same problem. Basically, my wouldn't stay synced with the. Why am I drawing a blank at the terminology? Give me a second. Oh, that's right. I haven't actually used my shared screen yet, so I can do this. Bear with me here 1 second while I figure out what I am exactly trying to say. Come on, where's the screen? There it is. There it is. Demon. That was the word I was looking for. Anyway, so I was trying to figure out why it would not sync with the daemon. So then I went through option 5, resynced and everything, downloaded it again, did that twice, and each time it would not. So anyway, I'll bring that back up in a little bit. So anyway, so finally, I saw that they basically said, and now it's just time to start over. So that's what I did. Well, once I started over, it got a new IP address and it would not pass a benchmark. And so I'm like, what the heck's going on? So I had the ability actually to go into my router and look at that table and see that those ports that were meant for that node were still opened up under the old IP address. I'm like, okay, so how the heck do I do this? They're dynamics. You can't delete them. So what I ended up having to do was turn I could do one of two things. I could have restarted the router, which would have reset the UPnP table. But again, through searching through the MikroTik forums, I was able to see you could just turn off the UPnP option. It'll clear the table and then just turn it right back on. And all of the UPnP ports will pop up. That's right. I didn't want to share my screen for that. So anyway, so again, being able to see deeper into the router and see what's going on is allows you to learn what's going on and helps you to diagnose things better, as well as being able to do the things you need to do to figure out what's going on and solve the problem. So as I've said before, I love the MikroTik, and I really should actually for this company where I bought it from. It was super easy, really great company to work with. I can't think what the name of the company is, but Multi-Link Solutions. I believe I really need to try to see if I can get an affiliate link with them. but definitely like the company. They were really, really helpful. And yeah, the best part about it was when I went to go buy it was $139. But when I went to go buy it, it was already in my cart. It went down to 125. I have no idea why. No idea why. I had a $5 off coupon that would have brought it down to 134, but how it got down to 125, I don't know. But it was right around Prime days. So I'm wondering if I think it was actually the last day of Prime days. So it might have had something to do with that. But yeah, I got it for $125, which didn't include shipping. So it was still like 130, right around 134, 133, something like that. The can compare that to really good consumer grade routers. I mean, you're talking those are, going to be at least in the 250 over 250 range. The one I got, I was lucky. I got it on sale, like super on sale. The TP Link one, I got that one on sale for $220 at Costco, which was completely crazy at the time. So, anyway, all right, let me get back to some comments. Who did I say? Who did I say hello to? Herbie. Oh, well, that's because she wasn't on there yet, I don't think. But anyway, hello, Herbie Service. And I saw a couple other people pop up here. Meathead213. Retro Mike. I don't want to forget Retro Mike Tech because he gets really mad. You don't want to make Retro Mike Tech mad. You know what happens then. That would be bad. That'd be very bad. And Jean-Francois Abin. Hopefully I said that right. Hawk is here. All right. Well, and Rylan. All right, son. Anyway, all righty. Do you remember what that comment was that you had up there?
Yeah, my name is want to know good resources for learning about
nodes. So the question was good resources for nodes, not mining, but getting servicing a project with nodes. I honestly, the way I learned was just through working with the project. Yeah, again, it's a path. You learn things along the way. There's not like you can just say, "Oh yeah, here's a way to go." So I mean, my path was, realizing that Flux had these nodes available. I had enough collateral. I wanted to get one up and running. So what does that mean? And I looked. At that point, it was port forwarding. So I figured out how to set up the port forwarding and did all that. And that didn't work on my router. That was my old router. Actually, that was the ISP provided router. Port forwarding, from best I could tell, on my old Xfinity router, gateway router, you could not effectively port forward ranges. And as soon as I tried to do that, that's when it happened. So then I ended up learning about DMZ. So I set up a DMZ, which is completely unsafe. I don't recommend it, but it was the way I could get my router up and running at that point. Shortly after that, UPnP came along. So I did that. That kind of worked. But again, consumer grade UPnP, yeah. A lot of the time when you have problems with your node, it's actually a problem with your router. I learned that because I was thinking that a lot of the time when there was a problem, I was thinking it was a problem with the node when in fact it was a problem with the router. So anyway, so that would be, there's really no given path. It's just do the research, figure out what that project needs. If there's something you don't understand, ask around within the community, go to Misfit Mining, Discord, ask around, and then you just figure out like what you don't know. I mean, that's the key of it. It's figuring out what you don't know, because it's really easy to learn things when you know what you don't know. The problem is when you're starting out, you don't know what you don't know. And that's the problem. You're like, oh, I did everything and everything looks like it should. And you're like, why isn't this working? I kind of look at it as when learning probability and statistics was the most frustrating math that I learned. And the reason why was because you thought you got it right and you got it wrong because you didn't know what you didn't know. So anyway, all righty. What was there? Was there another thing that you had put up? Okay. All right. Well, let me go back and look at some of the comments. Let's see. Who? Oh, I never say hi to Joker Miner. That's the standing joke. Well, hello, Joker Miner. I don't want to make you any more mad than you already are. Oh, he did. Ow, she poked me. Oh, okay. That was the one you were talking about. Got it. What about Jeffkey? Oh, Jeffkey's leaving. All right. Bye, Jeffkey. Thanks for showing up. Appreciate it. All right. Okay. Let's all right. So I basically talked a lot about the nodes. I talked about the routers. Going a little bit more into the routers. So pfSense is a great way to go. Obviously, you're more on your own with that. There's going to be pfSense resources, but you're basically building your own little, I don't want to say Frankenstein because it's not that crazy, but you're not building a set known configuration that's going to match necessarily somebody else, exactly what somebody else has. So yes, you'll get support with pfSense, but I don't know. To me, it was a little bit more of an unknown path. And again, because the router was so cheap, I was like, yeah, if I had the hardware, I might have thought about doing it myself, but you're not going to find building. Well, you could build a pfSense probably for about $150, but it would be a lot more difficult and probably wouldn't be as powerful as the MikroTik, in my opinion. Anyway, so if you are thinking about going the pfSense route, I definitely wouldn't discourage you from doing that. That's another step on top of learning routing. I haven't gotten to that point yet. I wanted to kind of more have a known piece of software and known piece of hardware that integrate together closely. So, Joker Miner, when poker? Been months. It hasn't been months, I don't think. Maybe about a month or a month and a half. But yeah, we definitely need to play some poker. Oh, Patrick Murphy, you're welcome. Glad you liked the reply. All right, let's go to the Pirates question, which was mining on AMD cards. And what's interesting about that was, so I had the day off on Friday, so I've had a lot of time to kind of think about certain things. And one of the things I was looking at, because I had heard people say that, AMD is on fire with Dynex. And I was like, really? And I looked, I'm like, oh yeah, it is. It does really well on Dynex. So then I started looking at prices and things like that. And I'm like, yeah, it probably still doesn't make that much sense, but it's the 6000 series cards, not the 7000 series, but the 6000, the RX 6000 series cards that do really, really well, which obviously being that they're a generation old is great because hopefully you can catch them for less price. So, but here's the thing about mining with AMD cards, and I'm sure that Zapirate already knows this, they're quirky to work with. It's not like a set and forget. They will crash, they will run for half an hour and then suddenly crash and not do anything. It can be very frustrating. I know Hawk just had that experience with one of his AMD rigs. So once you find the right formula, it's great. And if you like the process of troubleshooting and trying different things and seeing what works, what doesn't work, then honestly, AMD is for you. For me, because there wasn't a big benefit. So one of the reasons why I didn't go AMD anymore was because of they're not as flexible. Yes, they can be good on specific algorithms. I mean, if you think about it, until Dynex came along, they weren't really good on much other than the Kapow ProgPow variant things. Now, obviously, they're doing really well on Dynex, and more coins are using ProgPow variants. So again, they do well on that. But anything other than that, they're not great. They're certainly not good on Flux. So yeah, I kind of shied away from it just because they weren't as versatile as NVIDIA cards. So yeah, now I'm kind of like, maybe I should have kept those 5700 XTs. I did the math with right now, and basically 4 5700 XTs are making the same amount as what a 4070 Ti is. So it cost me 5 5700 XTs of what I sold it for to buy the 4070 Ti. So currently I kind of lost out on that exchange a little bit, but I had been ahead up, earlier on. It was a good decision. Now, so again, it could ebb and flow on that as well. But yeah, if you're thinking about getting into AMD cards, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. Again, so many of the ProgPow variants are coming out, or so many new coins are coming out on the ProgPow variants that are very good with AMD, as well as Dynex is doing really well with AMD cards. So yeah, I would say AMD mining cards are coming back. Pearl Rival Mining King gets the last laugh on what? On the as far as on the getting Hawks. I'm not sure what you're talking about. I don't know if it was something up in the chat, but or if you're talking about the fact that I got a MikroTik router. So I'm not sure. What do you mean, Pearl Rival? Put it in the chat. Oh, AMD cards. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. Yeah, I mean, I know he's a big AMD guy. Yeah, he would be. Now, here's the weird thing is he does not like Dynex. He hasn't made any two bones about it. He's just not mining Dynex. So yeah. Anyway, it's just kind of the thing. These two things don't go together. So maybe he is now finally. I don't know. I haven't actually asked him about it. All right. What else do we have tonight? I'm going to get into the coins last. Let me just make sure I've answered. Oh, okay. Sadie sometimes asked me, public mining companies earning reports are coming in this week. Thoughts? I don't have any thoughts. I don't keep track of the Bitcoin mining companies. So sorry. I don't have an opinion about it because I don't do any research on that. One last thing with going back to the routers briefly. One of the other things I like about MikroTiks and the routing and all that kind of stuff is I feel like I can kind of share something that's more unique than just mining. And like just this past week, actually 2.5 weeks ago, somebody DM'd me and said, "Hey, I'm on this. You've seen me here. I have some questions. I just bought a MikroTik based on what you buying a MikroTik, and I have these issues. What do you suggest?" That type of thing. So he was very knowledgeable. So I gave him a little bit of pointers on where to go, more about resources than anything. And he figured it out and away he went, which was great. And then today, or earlier this week, I should say, somebody came into the Max Voltage Discord channel and was asking questions, was like, I don't know what's happening here. And so I was able to point him in a direction. And it was really good timing that when he asked the specific question he was asking, because over the weekend, and actually I'm going to go down another router thing because I totally forgot about this. So over the weekend on Saturday, actually, I rebuilt the router, basically, not hardware wise, but software wise. So somehow I'm an idiot and forgot the password. I don't know how I did it, but because I use a standard password, but I don't know. Bottom line was I couldn't get into the router. Router was running great, but I wanted to be able to get into the router to look at things. And also there's a bunch of different things that it can do. I can actually put in like a USB flash drive and put a container on there that like can do like a Pi hole or adware. Anyway, there's a bunch of different things you can run on that as a drive or as a USB stick or something like that, that it can add functionality to the router. Anyway, that was the reason why I rebuilt it. And what I mean by rebuilt it, basically reloaded it from scratch. So had to get a program that allowed me to basically load in the router OS, as well as I also needed to drag and drop the Wi-Fi software onto it as well. And having gone through that entire process, which should really only take 30 to 45 minutes at the most, but because I didn't know what I was doing and I was making mistakes, it took me like 3.5 hours. Again, learned a lot along the way, and lost 4 out of my 8 nodes. So it is what it is, and got them back up and running once I got the router up and running. But anyway, having gone through that, I realized one of the mistakes I made, and this guy seemed to be having the same problem. So I was able to share like my problem and said, yeah, I had the same issue. This is what you need to do, which was create a masquerade in order to be able to get, basically your router will talk to the outside world. Your LAN will talk to the router, but getting the router to actually talk to the LAN to talk to the WAN, you need masquerade. So Burn says, that was me asking about the MikroTik, still working, yet still don't know why the router didn't sync with the ISP a few days ago, but popped up perfectly yesterday. All right, well, now I can put that name with you. So appreciate that. Yeah, I did yours. I know you responded that way. So unfortunately, the information I provided wasn't necessarily directly helping, but I just found it interesting how that specific issue sounded exactly the same as what I had. So there is a way within the MikroTik router where you can set up a firewall rule that isn't masquerade, which unfortunately doesn't work well if you have dynamic IP with your ISP. Because every time your IP is going to change, you're not going to be able to talk to the outside world. So I don't know if that's related possibly to what might have happened with you, but keep that in mind. You want to see what I put in there, which is on the top of the firewall NAT, under firewall and under the NAT tab. The first line should say masquerade. It should have one of the second or third column should say masquerade. If it doesn't, and it says something else, then you probably don't have the right thing set up. Anyway, Burns in Iowa also. God, you guys are all in Iowa. Why don't you guys set up a meetup with everybody in Iowa? Although, yeah, big secret, Iowa crypto mining doesn't live in Iowa. Discuss. Feel a little bit clamped. Iowa crypto mining is neither in Iowa. Anyway, all right. Let's see what else. And of course, everybody is talking about the Mine Some 10 video about Dynex. So I guess I have a little bit different perspective. So Mine Some 10 was provided some information from somebody I believe he trusted, and decided to share that as fact. Whether it was fact or not, I don't know. I'm not making judgment on it. My point is that it wasn't anything he discovered on his own. He didn't know exactly how it got discovered, just that somebody he trusted provided this information to him, presenting it as Dynex being fraudulent. It's as simple as that. So I've had that happen before. Certainly not anything as public as this, but certainly somewhat public. So I had a family member, distant family member, but a family member nonetheless, present to me that our utility was going to be running high tension power lines within a block and a half of us. And I took that as fact and I ran with it. And I found out later that that wasn't the case. And so I kind of looked kind of stupid, had a little egg on my face, not a big deal or anything. But my point is I can see how somebody that you trust presents you with what appears to be very rational thought and fact, but in reality, it may not be. So even if this guy was running some Python script or whatever he was doing, you know, just because he's doing all that doesn't mean that he didn't make a mistake or make some false assumptions. Anyway, I think that the court is still out on Dynex, as with many different cryptos out there. You know, basically a lot of cryptos haven't proven themselves, you know, to be what they say they are. If they aren't open source, you can't really look at them. So this is not unique to Dynex. This is not even unique to, like I said, it's a lot of coins. So like I said, I'm not one of those that's like, get out the pitchfork and, you know, crucify Mindsum 10 for what he said. I look at it from the standpoint of he was presented with some information. He thought it was correct based on who was presenting it. And when, you know, Sumitomo came back, or Red Panda Mining came back and said what he said, I don't think Mindsum 10 really knew what to say, because he's like, well, I have no way of validating any of this. So I don't know. So anyway, my point is, if and I don't know if Mindsum 10, I don't think he's doubled down on it, but if he doubled down on it after being presented with this information and realizing, hey, maybe I don't know enough to really say anything about this, I would say let bygones be bygones, in my opinion. I will say it was very effective for views. He got a lot of views on that video, that's for sure. You know, bad press is good press, especially in the YouTube world, because it gets you views. So anyway, I would just say let's all lighten up about it, as long as he's not doubling down on it. And we'll eventually, all of us will figure out whether or not Dynex is what they say they are. And I don't know. I mean, think about it this way. When Ice River came out and said, we can do this fanatical, fantastic miner, what was everybody's response? It's a scam. It's a scam. Has it turned out to be a scam? Nope. Turned out to be a reputable new ASIC company. So, but that's because they proved it. They provided product, put it in people's hands that they could validate that it is doing what they said it was going to do. So once Dynex can really, really prove out that they are in fact doing what they say they're doing in the way that they say they're doing it. Because remember, when the Ice River originally came out, the other thing people were saying was, well, are they just have like, for the demo units, do they just have like hash rate in some foreign location mining to your wallet because that's what you set it up? So basically having all this stuff running in the background, making it look like the ASIC was running, but it was actually all fake. So obviously that's been disproven at this point. That's not what's happening. My point is that they've proven it out. Give Dynex a chance to prove it out. Let's, you know, again, be skeptical, but let's just figure it out together. So anyway, that's my 2 cents on that. I guess I could go back to I should make it bring out the meme, calm the down. Anyway, but you know, it is the bear market. Everybody likes to get a, sorry, I was reading the comment. I'll go back to that in just a second. You know, it's the bear market. Everybody gets more upset about things during the bear market than they do the bull market. So Crypto Perks asks, Max, where are you really selling your Dynex on the way up? I'm not sure if you're saying where or were. You really selling? Yes, I was really selling Dynex on the way up. Yeah. Hindsight's 2020. I wasn't a huge believer in it. And yeah, I was selling on the way up. I still am selling. Now I think they've gotten pretty high. So yeah, I'm still at the point of show me. That's where I'm at. So Pro Rival says more FUD E9s hashing flux. What do you think? I don't know anything about E9s mining flux. So that would be interesting if that was in fact happening. So no, I don't know anything about that. So all right. Let's see. Paddock Miner says, what's your number one hardware buy right now if you saw it at the right price? Well, anything at the right price. Currently right now I can't buy. I'm a little cash strung, so not buying anything at the current moment. But if I did have money to spend, I would be looking at possibly some AMD 6800 XTs, possibly L7, possibly E9, or a K7, or a Jazz Miner. Those would be the ones that I'd be looking at. But again, go to Mine the ASIC. Look at the top of the chart. I mean, it's not. It's well here. Let me actually bring it up. Let me get this out of the way. All right, let me do that. Let me bring up this. There we go. All right, now let me share. So if you look at Mine the ASIC, what I look back is payback time. So if you look at it, you got the KS3. Okay, so the KS3, sorry, I'm the whole thing with how much hash rate is going to come online makes me very nervous to say, will it still be profitable? Yeah, it's going to be that profitable. Heck no. But nobody really knows how many KS3s are going to come out. I think that's a huge risk. Now, could you pay it off before, if you were in the first wave? Sure. But usually people that are bigger customers are going to be in early. So I don't know. That to me is a huge risk because nobody has them yet. Interesting here. It says the iPolo V1 that wasn't there yesterday. That was not there at all. That's interesting. I don't know enough about it, honestly, but that's very interesting. I guess I might look at that. But again, the K7, the L7, E9, the Jazz Miner, X10, one of the X16s. So those would be the ones that I would be looking at. But like I said, I hadn't seen the iPolo V1 up there before, and the Z15 wasn't up there either. So again, that's kind of interesting. So anyway, those are, and again, like I said, AMD 6800 XTs would probably be what I would be thinking about. It's about efficiency with the 68. I guess when you go up to as you go up from the 6800 XT, things get less efficient. It's higher power. Yes, you get a little bit more hash rate, but you can't get the same efficiency. Let's see. Patrick Ian says KS3 2-year break even. Nice use of the word break even. I like it. I also like the way that Mine the ASIC doesn't call it ROI, they call it payback time. I like that too. So mad respect for Mine the ASIC for just that. Anyway, so yeah, I don't disagree. It's going to depend. Either you're going to make your money right away, so you're going to make your money back that first couple of months, or you're going to wait 2 years. So we'll see. What was the last thing you put up? Oh, yes. It's been proven, especially if you have kids that play with Legos. Hit that like button or you'll step on a Lego. Not fun. Been there, done that. Anyway. Alrighty. Well, let's get into some of the other questions. So one of the people asked me to go into Game Pass. And so let's talk a little bit about that. Oh, I thought that was what you wanted. I'm only giving you what you want. You want me to say the word anyway. All right. Enough of that. So anyway, I decided to do this not with the latest pump, and this pump did not start because of anything I said, but I definitely find it interesting that at about 750 or 710, it started pumping. So right about 730 or so, it started pumping. And I don't know. Was that about the time my thumbnail came out? Maybe it was. Anyway, maybe that's why it pumped. So could I have that kind of effect? No. Anyway, so it's doing really well. I mean, it was up 70% just a little bit ago. Now it's up over 500% over 7 days. So it is doing extremely, extremely well. I only wish I had looked at this 7 days ago. That would be nice, but I did not. Am I invested in Game Pass? No, I am not. Unfortunately, I'm not. So anyway, Game Pass is basically, I don't want to say a Neoxy copycat because it's not a copycat, but it's the same general idea. You basically play the games that they have out there, which is Dota 2 and PUBG. Yeah, baby. Think I might be playing some PUBG, more PUBG coming up. Get myself going on this. And so anyway, I find this project interesting. Again, it's a Neoxy-like project, obviously using different games. There's a lot of room in this space right now. So I do find this very interesting. If we look at the roadmap, I always like to, sorry, not the roadmap, the white paper. I always like to look at the tokenomics. So bear with me here a second while I scroll down to it because I didn't have it queued up. Of course, they have to. Yeah, PUBG, man. PUBG. I know they had it in here. Oh, here it is. So obviously the Game Pass network runs its own cryptocurrency called GPN coin. It's proof of work coin that uses Kapow algorithm. Total supply of 8.7 billion coins that are distributed as follows: 51% to miners, 41% to gamers, and 8% to developers who maintain and improve the Game Pass network. I like things that are like this because you do have to fund the project, and I'd rather have it be funded out of the tokenomics and the per block rewards going to the developers rather than a pre-mine. So I think that that's a more fair way and a more organic way to get things going on it. But anyway, I do find it interesting. It's 51% to miners. That's pretty good. A little bit less to gamers, but, and who knows, this could change. It could go the opposite way if gamers are not adopting it, where they may need to pay more out to the gamers. I don't know, but that's where it's currently at. And it is a relatively new coin. So if we go here and we go to all, I mean, we're talking, it started in July, like right around July 25th, 24th or so. Yeah, July 24th is when it just started. So this is a brand new coin. So yeah. Let's see. But yeah, as I was saying before, yeah, baby, PUBG. The way that it's interesting also, the way that you gain the actual tokens themselves is it's linked in their Discord, where you have to follow a very specific process to link your wallet to your game. I looked at it and I don't remember the process, but there is a specific process in order to be able to do that. That, like I said, it all goes through Discord. So not necessarily through the blockchain, at least not yet. So anyway, maybe we'll do a live stream of this with actually getting Game Pass rewards. Maybe do something like that. If you guys think that's a great idea, don't think it's a great idea, leave it in the comments. Oh, okay. Got it. Appreciate that. I was just looking at the. Oh, sorry. Retro Mike text says the Genesis block was on May 5th. So appreciate you sharing that. So anyway, I just found this to be a really interesting project, and I'm not saying that I think it's good, bad, whatever. I do find it interesting. So especially considering where Nioxa has gone recently. Now, which actually leads me to the next thing. So as I was looking at Game Pass, which I was looking at hashrate.no GPUs, and well, look at that. GPN has jumped. Well, obviously, because of the increase in price, GPN has become the most profitable coin. This is for all different GPUs. You can see it's across the network. But let's go into a 3070 Ti. Let's do that. Ampere or 3070. 3070. So Kiro coin is second. So pretty much right around, well, the 24-hour mark, right around the same profitability. And Nexa is actually making a comeback too. They've been going up in the profitability as well. But anyway, so I saw this Kiro coin, so I was like, oh, this is kind of interesting. Let me take a look. And again, ProgPow variant, so more new ProgPow variant coins. So look at Kiro coins, $2.79. Nothing really necessarily pumping about it. Gaming with Smokey Dan. No pigeon for the win. Come on, leave Retro Mike alone. With this pigeon. All right, let me go to a 30-day. So obviously I had a big pump back then. Let's go to all. This coin is relatively new as well. Oh, all is. Again, this one had pretty much the same point at which it started showing up on charts. So it's not at its all-time high. This is where the all-time high was, but has a nice trajectory. I actually like to see coins that are like this, where they just kind of organically just continue to go up and go up and go up. So what is Kiro Coin about? Which, by the way, one thing I really love is their website. This is like a fidget toy. You see how it's like you can interact with the background and move around the webs and stuff. Yeah, I did this for a good 15 minutes last night. It's just a good fidget toy. Anyway, so yeah, KiroCoin.org for a good fidget toy. Anyway, but let me go to the white paper of Kiro Coin. And let me see if I can find the tokenomics a little quicker than I did the last time. What are you saying, oh my God, about?
For whatever reason, bacon, eggs, and hash, instead of putting alcohol, he puts the juice box. It always it hides it till I show it.
Oh, okay.
Always have to get approval.
You're causing problems for the mods there. Who is it? Bacon, eggs, and hash. Okay. For some reason, I was looking at Gaming with Smokey Dan. I thought maybe it was him, but that is not a juice box. That is a whiskey bottle or whatever, or whiskey or shot glass. All right. Going back. Blockchain scalability. I know it's down here because I was looking at it. Tokenomics. 60% master nodes, proof of stake, 20% proof of work. So this appears to be kind of modeled after Firo with how much is going towards proof of work. And then 10% community rewards and 10% governance fee. I don't know exactly. I didn't look to see where the community rewards were going to. I'm guessing that's more of an open source thing, but not sure. But considering I like to do nodes, I did find this interesting. And again, I haven't looked to see how many coins are required to run a node or anything like that, but this is one I will be looking at to maybe start up a node. I do have some hardware that I think I could put in place relatively quickly to run a node. Oh, I do remember on this project, that's one reason why I wanted to challenge it, is they flat out said, oh, here, let me go back over to here. And if you go to guides and you go to setup master node, they flat out tell you, yeah, go get a VPS. And they tell you that, oh, well, if you run it at home, you're going to miss out on more rewards because VPS is going to be more reliable. So basically, they're just telling you, suck it up and run it on a VPS. And I'm like, no, I don't think so. I want to see if I can run it. Now, the interesting thing about it is that they did not specify the amount of cores. So you see here, it said step 4, get a VPS. And I tell you how to run it. And I had to install it. There's a point where getting a VPS is probably where it is. Get a VPS, and all they tell you is 1.5 gig of RAM, 2 gig with swap on recommended, and 25 gig of disk space. Nowhere in there does it say anything about how many cores. It'd be kind of important, don't you think? If you don't agree with me, say so in the chat, please, because I just like, okay, how many cores? I could run it on half a core, full core. Oh, sorry. There you go. It says 1.5 gig of RAM and 25 gig of disk space. So, yeah. I don't understand. So anyway, I'll probably end up going onto their Discord. I'm assuming they have a Discord, and start asking some questions. Retro Mike Text says masternodes are the equivalent of running a CLI wallet plus a tad more indexing. I run multiples on a B-Link mini PC, doesn't require much. Oh, okay then. All right, so it's not like running a Flux node. Got it. Maybe that's why they're saying, because Hetzner says it starts from 4.2 euro a month. VPSAG starts from 3.66 euro a month. So maybe they're just basically saying it's so cheap, just freaking pay for it. It's probably a heck of a lot. I mean, heck, I could run it on one of my Raspberry Pis. Sunflower Mama just said, please don't. Anyway, yes, and I said it. So where's my shot glass? Somebody put the shot glass in the chat. So here's the thing. So yeah, there we go. Thank you, Game Me the Smoky Dan and Ovalboard Tech. I appreciate that. So yeah, I guess the shot glass and the beer mug are like my version of 22, I guess. Bacon, eggs, and hash. God, milk. All righty. So that is kind of what I had to talk about tonight. The only other thing that I found interesting. So, by the way, this is a compute network. If you look at Hero Coin, oh, no, that is what I wanted, but let me. Retro Mike says, I know you were joking about the Raspberry Pi, but not all nodes can run on ARM processors. You want to check first if you decide to try. Well, that's true. That's very true. But the key is that I didn't use the Raspberry Pi until I found out I could, because the Flux team, put out a video saying exactly what you needed to do in order to load it on a Raspberry Pi. So, but one key thing is, we're running mining rigs and we're running them with flash drives, USB flash drives. What do they always say? We're going to eventually run out. We're basically going to burn it up. Basically, it's not going to continue to run. Well, I look at a Raspberry Pi much the same way. You're running the software off of an SD card, a micro SD card. Micro SD cards don't last forever. Yes, you can get the ones that are a little bit more hardy, but they're not going to run forever. So it's kind of that's one of the big drawbacks of a Raspberry Pi. I believe there is a way that I could actually build the Raspberry Pi node with everything being on the hard drive, but I'm not sure exactly how to do that. Hey, Retro Mike, you want to figure that out for me? Anyway, okay. Going back to, this is the setup guide. Let me do this. There we go. No, that's fine. I'll go back to it. I'm just looking at, because basically I thought this was, yeah, this was a providing, compute technology a little bit, mainly for finance, but mainly for transactions. And this is the one where they didn't call them smart contracts. They called them wise contracts. So anyway, we'll see. We'll see what this one I think is interesting, but I have no idea if this is going to end up going anywhere. So again, you want to get in on a project that you have no idea whether it's going to 0 or 1 million. That's kind of like a lot of these new projects. So you can lose your butt or make $1 million. So one of the things I found interesting, so in case you hadn't seen it, your friend Andy was on DJ's stream on Friday night. And that was very, very interesting because he talked about the fact that he gets in early on a lot of coins. Not every coin, but a lot of them. And he's like, I'm searching through the crap to find the 1 out of 50 or so. It's like 49 of them are going to go to 0. One of them's going to go to 1 million. And that's what you base it on. You get a few coins in each one, and you basically get a bag and know that 49 of those bags are going to go to 0, and one of them is going to be your winner. And because it's such a big winner, that's all you need. You need 1 out of 50. So I found that to be a really interesting take on it. And it really has me kind of rethinking my mining strategy in the fact that I really need to diversify my farm to mine multiple coins instead of focusing on one coin. So anyway, I'll be thinking about that this week and probably making a change this weekend would be my guess. I pretty much have kind of already made the decision. So we shall see. All right. Well, I've been going for about an hour. Anybody have any last questions before I call it a stream? I'm just double checking to make sure I don't have anything else. Oh, I talked about reloading my Flux node. Oh, a couple of things. So, as I mentioned, I reloaded my my router, my MikroTik router. I am going to put a video together. I'm not sure how long it's going to be before I do that, but I will be putting together a video going over the steps and what I've learned along the way with doing that with the MikroTik router. Just talked about that. And then I did notice that 1.0 miner for Dynex has upgraded to 1.2.2, and I did do some testing with it. From what I could see, the 3070 didn't really change much at all, but the 3060 Ti, that was like 5 to 10% higher, about 5% higher in general. So that was quite a nice bump. So I got a lot of 3060 Ti's out there. It also gave the 3060 a bump. 3070 Ti's didn't. So it pretty much seems like it was the lower end cards. The one, my couple of 1660 Ti's, it got about a 5% bump as well. So if you haven't upgraded to 1.2.2, I highly suggest you doing it. All right, let me check if anybody came across WenFiber. Good question, Second TL. So, oh, well, here, let me go. I'll go back to that. Wait a minute. Okay, gaming with Smokey Dan. That does sound interesting, but unless you're spreading cards and not just mining one coin crypto, you can only really spec mine if you had 2 rigs. As my plan once one run rig full. So you can mine more than one coin on a rig. And you could mine a different coin on every single card. If you've seen people do streams on it. Now, it may not, you can only have each miner running once, one instance of it. So it may not be practical, but certainly you could have it running, 2 or 3 different coins easily on different cards. So, like, for instance, 3070 Ti is kind of the one weird card in the fact that it definitely is profitable on different cards than 3070 and 3060 Ti's. So I'll be looking at, how to split up my Octominer, as well as my other rigs. I also want to change around the way I've got it structured right now. I'll probably do a video on that as well, because I have some chump change hanging, mining, misfit mining hanging cards with using those hangers, but I have a rig frame that only has 2 cards in it. So I'm going to switch some things around, and I'm still kind of figuring out exactly what I want to do. I'm debating whether to take the 3070 out of my machine and put in a 4070. But I'm not really sure I'm going to gain a whole heck of a lot out of that. Because from a content creation, which is the main reason why I'd be doing it, I don't think it's that much better, if at all. So, all right, let me go back to second TL. When fiber? That's a great question, because I did learn that Metronet is 1 town over from where I'm at, and they are fiber. So about 3-4 miles away is the closest subdivision that has fiber. And the reason why I'm thinking that might be coming to our town is because I talked to the Metronet folks, and they said, yeah, we're coming to your area. We have to deploy in your school district, which encompasses this other town. And then we're going to start rolling out. So they just decided to start in the next town over. So I would expect that they're going to expand into the school district with fiber. Only key problem I have is I'm probably going to have to go to some meetings and town meetings and say, yeah, you need to make this happen. No excuses. Figure out a way to make it happen with your contract, with your franchise agreement, I should say, with Comcast. That's their stumbling block. Anyway, so yeah, in case you didn't know, Xfinity or Comcast will come in and make a franchise agreement with a town with stipulations that make it very difficult for them to expand to allow other providers to come in. All in the idea that it makes it more, affordable for you, because yeah, like when you call Comcast saying I need a lower bill, like they even care where you live. Anyway, so there's that. Plus, I have the person across the street, I found out, has 200 megabits per second upload. I'm right across the street from him. The other interesting thing I've recently seen is when I run a speed test and it gets the upload portion, it spikes to just over 50 and then immediately comes back down. So it's being, we always knew it, that it could do more upload. And so it is definitely being rate limited, but I had never seen it go that far. So I'm thinking the technology is already in place. They just have to remove the rate limit. So I'm hoping it's going to be coming soon, but we'll see. Tim I Am Crypto says, I finally got fiber 5 months ago. I was able to get 250 megabits per second symmetrical. They have 601 gig symmetrical too. They recently upgraded me at no cost to 400 megabits per second. Are you talking about Metronet? Or specifically, or just talking about in general? But yeah, that's great. Yeah, rub it in. Thanks. Appreciate that. Okay, let's see what else you guys are asking. Mining Mana says Morales Money is a good source for finding coins early. Saw an old video from Crypto KC if anyone interested. Oh, okay. Somebody else watches Crypto KC. I do find her slightly annoying and condescending. But she's got great content. So as long as you can put that aside, no big deal. Veteran Miner, the general at his best. Love the content. Oh, well, good. Appreciate that, Veteran Miner. Thank you. I was trying to get back to my old way of doing things instead of talking so much about myself. Gaming with Smoking Dan says that does sound interesting, but unless you're spreading cards and not just mining. Oh, I already talked about that. Sorry. All righty. Well, I'm going to call it a night, people. I appreciate you guys being here. Hope you liked the kind of old way that I had been doing things in the past, that I think how you guys all came to be here. And hopefully I can branch out into some new audience members. If you are new and you do like this kind of content, please hit the subscribe button. I have been stuck at 3,900, like right around 3,900 for 4 months. It's not going anywhere. I've not been moving the ticker. I know if I actually put out more content, I'm sure I would get more subscribers, but that is something that hopefully will be in the near future. I just have a lot going on right now personally that I'm trying to do and trying to find the time to do. Plus I have a job that usually takes anywhere between 50 and 60 hours a week. So yeah, I need to sorry, the point of that was I need to actually be a little bit more like a hobbyist miner and schedule out my time a bit more. And I think that would probably help. So I'll be looking at that. I know. I'm still at level 2. I've not gotten to level 3. I'm 9 weeks away from level 3. So I got a ways to go. Travelers Travel, celebrate 5 months of membership. Thanks for the stream, Max. Good night, everybody. Hit that like button. Thanks. I appreciate that. And that's a great way to end the stream. So I appreciate you guys all being here. Great having a lot to talk about. I think this is a good sign that I think we're coming out of the bear market, that with so much more to talk about, so much more going on, good things happening in crypto. So again, thanks everybody. I appreciate it. Oh, sorry. One more thing. Steven Cicero, 7 months of OnlyFans. So appreciate you, sir. Very much appreciate it, as well as I appreciate all my members. So again, guys, all have a good night, and the general is out.